Good Monday morning. You have found us on the weather desk, and we have got a show for you. We're actually coming on just a little bit later than normal. We normally try to start right at 9 o'clock, but there's a lot to pull into this morning for you, and we are going to get into it. We're going to start off with a look at our weather headlines, and we're going to have a wrap up today on the show with the weekend snow that impacted so much of the country, including some pretty unusual areas down south, parts of Florida. Would you believe they saw some snow down to the ground? They had snow across parts of the deep south. We will, of course, continue to take a look at those areas, and then other parts of the country also hit with some heavier snow as well farther to the north. Now, as we go along, in addition to that, we're going to talk about a Russian avalanche that was caught on video. So we'll show you that. We've got manatees down in Florida seeking warmer water. We'll show you where a large number of manatees have kind of huddled up together trying to find some warm water with all the cold air that's been coming in. We've got an update on Chilean wildfires, and then we're going to talk about the rising cost of recovery from Helene. Some of the road repair numbers, staggering what is going on with the cost of recovering from that hurricane. And then we've got our winter storm chances for the weekend, and that is going to be worth sticking around for if you live here in the mid-Atlantic, talking areas from North Carolina through Hampton Roads and all the way up through D.C. You definitely want to stay tuned. We're going to break all of that down. Let's start off, though, with a look at some of the areas dealing with the snow. And you can see this morning still some snow showers for parts of the Northeast, some snow back across southern Kansas as we look this morning. It's dry right now down across parts of the deep south, but you can see, how about this, Georgia around Macon? Little bit of light snow, at least trace amounts. Dothan, you can see areas down south of Montgomery there, and then into the Florida Panhandle, some snow down to the ground. Pretty wild. This snow from these parts of the country that so rarely get it to other areas, the usual suspects. You know, those heavy snows reported back out over the northwestern U.S. and then back up into New England. They had a lot of snow around Chicago last evening with the football games going on. There've just been a lot of folks dealing with it. Let's take a look at the snowfall in New Hampshire and in southern Alabama, which got a few inches there over the weekend. And how about Florida? Again, snow flurries dusted the Panhandle. There wasn't any significant accumulation. National Weather Service did issue a freeze warning for that region through this morning. Back north, Duke Carter has a look at neighbors digging out in Wisconsin.
At the corner of 60th and Wisconsin, people are shoveling, making sure the snow doesn't pile up too much around their homes.
I've done this area, I've done the mailbox over there, and also done that area around the edge as well.
Others, like Peter Walker, are using a snowblower to clear the accumulation.
I can basically get around and make sure nobody falls. A lot happier there's a lot more snow. I think a little concern in the early part of the year where we had all the ice dams, early snow.
Weather Watch 12 says more than 3 inches of snow hit one of the hardest hit areas, which includes Tulsa. And that's why you got crews out and about making sure that the area is cleared so that way customers can get access to stores.
And so how long have you been out shoveling, trying to get
10 minutes. Yeah, we're a team. We all work together. So Bartolotta and Salamander, myself, we're all making sure everyone can get through the sidewalk safely. You feel cold for me? I don't know, I'm tough. I'm from Wisconsin, born and bred, so we're used to this. It's not a shock.
as Wisconsinites deal with Mother Nature's snowfall.
Again, will we have to deal with that kind of snow here in Hampton Roads? We'll talk about that a little later in the show. Right now, I want to show you one part of the world that's been dealing with not only the snow, but a pretty unstable snow base. Let's take you over to Russia. And as we zip over all the way over to Elbrus, right along the Georgia-Russia border here, you have a ski resort where an avalanche was caught on camera. Take a look. This was taken at the Elbrus ski resort. And again, that's right along the Russian border with Georgia. The ski resort says that avalanche was triggered by heavy snowfall And the resort also says it regularly conducts controlled releases. I'm wondering if our director could pull up that video. If not, we'll move along. But we do have, there it is. There's a look. Look at how impressive that video is with that avalanche coming, rumbling down the mountainside. That individual not looking too concerned. This other guy kind of taking a few steps back. Think I'd be running back a little bit as well. Look at this as it continues to roll down. Now, they, again, conduct regular avalanche controlled releases to prevent these slides like this. And now you see that other guy taking off. So far, they've conducted 10 this year, and there have not been any spontaneous avalanches recorded until this one. It is just amazing to see again over in Russia, and we didn't get any reports of anybody that was hurt there. So hopefully everybody was okay, but very scary seeing that snow come crashing down the mountains. Now we're coming back to the U.S., and cold water came as a shock here in Central Florida for some, not humans, but for some manatees. Check this out. Video from Three Sisters Springs in Crystal River shows hundreds of manatees all huddling together, trying to stay warm in frigid temperatures. Temperatures there dropped into the mid-30s on Friday morning. Now, luckily, the waters in the springs stay a relatively warm 72 degrees year-round. Manatees gather there when temps dip because they can develop a life-threatening condition called cold stress when water temperatures drop below 68 degrees. So they have those springs here around Crystal River. All right, now we're going to turn our attention way south of the equator, and specifically to Chile, and we're going to come south of Santiago, about 300 miles to the south of Santiago, where we find wildfires burning, and this has been a huge issue. We reported on some in this part of the world last week here on the weather desk, but this is what we want to update you on. They have turned deadly, those wildfires. This is a look at the aftermath. Again, this is about 300 miles south of Santiago, where strong winds and temperatures up to 100 degrees have helped fuel the flames. So far, there have been at least 15 people that have died, and 21,000 acres have been scorched. At least 250 homes have been destroyed, and 50,000 people have been ordered to evacuate. The Chilean president has declared a state of catastrophe to help with emergency response efforts. Very difficult situation. Here's a look at what we're going to do right after a very short 2-minute break. We're going to take that break, then we're going to talk about the cost of repairs for recovery from Helene. The road costs have come up tremendously. I'm going to have your Martin Luther King Day Jr. forecast and your Martin Luther King Jr. Day forecast. And we're going to talk about our chances for winter weather this weekend, a significant winter storm headed for the Mid-Atlantic. We're going to talk about it. I'll show you some of the model projections. Wait till you see what some of the models think we could see. I'll explain coming up. Welcome back to the Weather Desk. You know, it's been over a year, 16 months since Hurricane Helene made landfall in North Carolina, causing catastrophic damage in the western part of the state. Now, repairs are still ongoing, and we take a look at this area. I mean, we have had all kinds of recovery stories from western North Carolina on up into Tennessee. These repairs continue to go on, and now the Department of Transportation expects repairs to a section of major Highway 40 there to now cost nearly $2 billion. Shelley Garzone spoke with one engineer about the project.
We're seeing about a $900 million cost increase on I-40 due to Helene.
The State Department of Transportation is working with a new price tag to repair I-40 after damages from Helene.
Originally, the estimates were $1.1 billion. That has now gone up to nearly $2 billion. Really, the main factor behind that is we have new subsurface information. So the early estimates, we just did not have that information. So we've spent some time out there. We've worked closely with our contractor to determine those costs over time.
DOT engineers say this will not impact the timeline to reopen the interstate.
We're going to have to go deeper into the ground, but we're not changing the scope of the project. That will remain the same, and it will not change the timeline either. The project will still be completed. All lanes will be open in late 2028.
With the highway not up to full capacity, local economic leaders say there are impacts to the area.
Certainly, our travel tourism sector hasn't recovered to the level that it was pre-Helene. Some of that is because perceptions outside of our area that this area is closed to visitors or this area is not ready for visitors.
Tourism is not the only area Ramsey says is seeing impacts.
Companies that are need to transport their products in various ways. The fact that that corridor is a little less accessible today than it was is certainly a drag on them. Many companies have just-in-time inventory where they're needing that inventory as timely as possible. So that's certainly an impact.
DOT says driving patterns along the reconstruction zone will not change.
Drivers will continue to be in the pattern they're in now, a single lane pattern in each direction along the work site, and it'll remain in that pattern until we're able to open all lanes in late 2028.
All right, now we're going to get to something I think a lot of folks have been wanting to hear more about, and that's the potential for some wintry weather as we get into the weekend. We'll start off with a look at what's going on nationally and look at how quiet it is out here in the western U.S., the central U.S., Kansas into Oklahoma, a little bit of snow flying there. And we've got snow showers around the Great Lakes and into portions of the northeast U.S. all the way up into New England. Southeast is very quiet right now as well. Temperatures bitter cold, Minneapolis and Chicago, sub-zero right now. Bismarck also below zero. Omaha just 2 degrees, 14 in St. Louis, 19 in Cleveland, low 20s in New York City. Atlanta at 31, 36 down in the Big Easy. Call it the Big Freeze. Well, they're slightly above, but you get what I'm talking about. It is cold down there in New Orleans. San Antonio, very chilly. El Paso, 31, 28 at Albuquerque. Very, very cold temperatures for the central U.S. and here in the east. And that cold air is set to work a little closer to us as we head towards the weekend. We're going to see colder air settling in as a Canadian high builds over the Great Lakes. That's going to pump some cold air into our region, setting up our chances for snow. Later today, snow may fly across Montana and North and South Dakota. You see that into Tuesday. And then as we look ahead to Wednesday, you see the chances for snow here over the eastern Great Lakes. This has stopped at noon. Some moisture here collecting down to our southwest. Note that because as colder air arrives and we've got an active southern jet stream here coming in, we're going to see some moisture moving in to colder air that'll be in place. Now, if you were here in Hampton Roads, we talked about the chances for some wintry weather over our past weekend, and we did get some mixing. There was a little bit over this past weekend, but the cold air wasn't really entrenched. The system that came in over this past weekend had to bring some of the cold air with it. That's why we weren't really expecting very much, and we really didn't see very much. A little bit. Certainly, we had some freezing temperatures this morning. But as we get into this upcoming weekend, a little different story. Here at Wednesday, you see, again, more moisture down here along the Gulf, set to start getting pulled up. I think we'll see a chance for a few sprinkles down south Thursday or Friday into North Carolina. Hampton Roads, very low risk of a shower. The better chances for precip going up into the weekend. Let's talk about the temperature trend. Again, going up through Thursday after a chilly day tomorrow. Today we're in the mid-40s. We dip a little bit tomorrow, then back up to 47 on Wednesday, 54 on Thursday, and then the colder air starts to come in. Saturday, that's a morning temperature. It's going to get cooler through the afternoon and stay cold Saturday night into Sunday and Monday with moisture in place, cold enough to support snow in here, and then mid-30s after that. So we're really setting up for a very cold next week as well. As you can see, our average high is 50 degrees. So get ready. Just know in your mind, all right, cold air is going to be coming. This we're very, very confident in. As we take a look at this weekend, this is for Saturday into Sunday. So Saturday developing, Saturday night and into Sunday, chances for snow. There may be a wintry mix, maybe some ice in play for parts, especially down into North Carolina, but possibly a little farther north, depending on exactly where that storm track sets up and how deep this cold layer is. If it's very shallow, if it's sub-freezing just at the surface and a little warmer aloft, that would be a scenario that would create more ice where that kind of rain aloft falls, then gets into that last bottom cold, pool and freezes down that way. We could have an ice set up there. But if it's colder throughout the column, it's more likely that we would see the mix than snow. And that's the way the models are trending right now, than that bitter cold air settling in Sunday into Monday. So get ready for that. You definitely want to stay tuned for updates. Now, that's the general view. I want to give you the future cast. First of all, the near term. This is just looking out over the next few days. Southwest winds, temperatures this afternoon getting up into the mid-40s, mid to upper 40s for some areas. Plenty of sunshine. Pretty good day for Martin Luther King Jr. Day as we go about observations and different things going on across the area. As long as you bundle up, you'll be in good shape outside today. As we head through the overnight and into tomorrow, still mainly clear. Wind shift, note that's going to keep temperatures for your Tuesday in the upper 30s. So a colder day for Tuesday. By Wednesday, the wind's shifting back around to the south. We'll see those temperatures on Wednesday getting back up mid to upper 40s across parts of the area. Okay, clouds start to increase, and we'll see maybe a slight chance for some wet weather down to the south Thursday and then into Friday. Now, this is the GFS model, and this is for Friday evening. Showers over eastern North Carolina. You notice a little bit of mix and some snow down that way. That's through Friday night and then into early Saturday. By Saturday midday, you'll notice how that moisture starts to come back up. Now we've got some colder air in place, cold enough to support snow. Again, mix down to the south, rain down around Hatteras, areas farther south. As we go through the day, the afternoon on Saturday, you see how the snow continues. Maybe some heavier snow in some areas. Again, mix farther to the south. And then as we look ahead to early Sunday, the GFS actually keeps this stuff kind of rolling along. And by, say, mid-morning on Sunday, the GFS kind of pulls that out and away, setting up an earlier ending. And when you see the projections the GFS is giving us for snowfall amounts, you'll see it's a little bit lower than, say, the Euro or some of the other models. So that's the GFS. Now, the European model says, okay, a few flurries or, maybe a little something early Friday morning up to the north, but basically are better chances for a few showers down to the south Friday evening. Similar to the GFS. Look at this. So Saturday morning, here comes that mix, maybe some mix or even some ice for some areas down to the south. You can see snow more likely to develop. This again, mid-morning, a little earlier start with the Euro, and then watch what happens here. Now we're looking at moderate snow, a little more intensity here through the day on Saturday, and then heavier snow potentially eastern shore, northern neck, middle peninsula. That mix line or maybe a little bit of ice in the mix here coming up a little farther to the north with the Euro, but then the Euro pushes that stuff out and brings colder air on the backside. This is early Sunday. We head through midday on Sunday, still snowing. Remember, the GFS took it out. The Euro keeps that snow in, has a little more intensity as well. In fact, it keeps some snow chances in it until Sunday evening early. And this model is producing a lot of snow for our area. Now, I'm going to show you this is just snow potential from the GFS. And I got to stress, this is not our forecast. This is just guidance at this point. It's too early to say, oh, we're going to see this or we're going to see that for sure. All right. But the GFS model, that one that was quicker, showing lighter amounts compared to some of the other models, producing 6 to 7 inches Norfolk to Virginia Beach. Heavier amounts down to the south. Remember how they had that heavier band that was kind of set up here? GFS was really all in on that heavy snow down there. That's the U.S. global model. The moisture doesn't get farther to the north. Now, if that cold boundary is a little farther north, moisture goes farther north, these heavier snow amounts would be farther to the north. You could get a little bit of mix knocking down the totals here, or certainly more rain would greatly reduce those totals. So it's early to say. Again, model output, just guidance, not our forecast. I'm going to show you one more model. This is the European, and you're watching the weather desk, so we have time to show you and say, again, we're not calling for this amount of snow, but it gives you a feel for what I walked in and checked out this morning on the Euro. Look at that. 24 inches of snow in Newport News, 25 in Wakefield. Look at that, incredible amounts. 24 out around Emporia, 16 to 17 in Chesapeake, 20 in Norfolk, 17 in Virginia Beach. Again, I'm going to stress this and say this is why you want to keep checking back. It's model output. We're not saying that we're going to get these numbers, okay? But the Euro's saying, hey, if everything came together the way this model thinks it could, these are potential snowfall totals. It's pretty wild to think about that much snow. This would be just crippling amounts of snow if it were to come together. We got 6 days to see this change, and we watch models flip-flop all the time. So don't get too worried about it. Again, not our forecast, just guidance that we look at as meteorologists. Now, there's other guidance as well, and kind of taking a look at all of them, kind of summing them up. You can see the chances for 3 inches or more around 50%, okay? Right around 50% or so that we could see 3 or more inches, all right? Chances of seeing 6 inches or greater, about 30%, maybe a little bit over 30%. That's pretty good. 6 days out, these are pretty high numbers. That's why I said, hey, we got to take this seriously, put out a weather impact alert. 12 inches or more, just 10%. So again, don't bite on the super high-end totals, numbers, anything like that yet. Just know that's what we're watching here at 13 News Now, and we will let you know as the picture gets clearer. So again, models all produce significant winter weather. The storm for the mid-Atlantic this weekend. Exact track is going to shift a little bit potentially, and that could move areas of snow and ice. Could be a big storm, but things may change, so stay tuned. All right, here's the 7-day forecast for Hampton Roads. You're going to see the temperatures going up then coming down. We'll keep you updated with our weather impact alert for this weekend. Keep checking back, and we'll see you next time.